Hey guys, and welcome to some glorious action. I'm a rubber duck of war, and look at my boy Thorgrim. He's got that glint in his eye, making him look like the old and wizened Odin. It should be a fun showdown today. I'm going to be bringing the forces of the Dowie in a domination game, which is basically suicide. So I'm going to be having my mission, my real drive to make Norska and Dwarfs great. And this is my first attempt with the Dwarfs up against Logic_EU, a good YouTuber as well, who makes his own Total War multiplayer stuff, so definitely feel free to go check him out. You can find him out to YouTube as well as Twitch, and he's going with the Green Boys, the Greenskins. Typically a good matchup for the Green Boys, but we'll have to see how, the changes have been done into Immortal Empires, and the fact this is domination now may mix up the match quite a bit as well, so we'll have to wait and see. For my battle line, I do have miners with blasts and charges galore, including the Regiment of Renowned, making up the front lines of my armies, as well as double iron breakers. So I'm really coming in for the blast and charge madness to try and clear out goblins, orc boys, anything that isn't black orcs basically, because they can absorb a lot of that damage. And for the black orcs, I have some gyrocopters with brimstone guns, as well as the Skyhammer gyro bomber. Should be some cool stuff there. We're going for a bit of a thematic battle today. We're bringing the kind of OG generals of the factions. We do have our opponent with Grimgor, myself coming in with Thorgrim Grudgebearer. We've also got a few cheeky miners on the right hand side pushing up towards objective 3. As for my opponent, he's got a load of skirmish cav here in the front. We have the Morgrubs, Mangy Marauders, as well as the Death Creepers. And I think I forgot to put on unit caps because my opponent has like 6 or 7 regiments around. It's crazy. Because he's got, the Moon Howlers, the Death Creepers, the Morgrubs, Mangy Marauders, we have the Crimson Killers, I think they're currently hiding somewhere, we've got the Warlord Boys, we have basically everything. A couple of nasty Skulkers on this left-hand side, we've got Grimgor lurking, currently cowering behind this big construct here, this glorious dino architecture. Got Crimson Killers here, as well as Grimgor Ironhide, just kind of waiting out in case I went for the mass artillery play, which is certainly a way to go with Dwarfs. You can simply attempt to shoot your opponent off the map, and I think that is likely a good way to go. Blast and charges and thunderers galore. But instead I've gone for Hans, my boy Hans in the back here. If you checked out some of my earlier Immortal Empires content, you'll see Hans was the MVP in a free-throw. It was absolutely insane stuff. And I thought, hey, my opponent's probably not going to expect an ethereal unit here. Let's bring Hans and move him into the action. Gyro bombers just up to no good, just bounding around at the moment. We did drop some gyro bomber shots onto the Warlords boys, actually breaking them off the battle there, and up to 64 kills, not bad whatsoever. And I'm taking up defensive positions, so something the Dwarves are really good at doing is holding the line and not retreating, not buckling under the weight of pressure. So I'm pinning my miners up, backed up by more blast and charges on all these choke points in a desperate attempt to hold the line. And over on the right hand side, my opponent looks like he's maybe not going to be bothering too much with the center, and hey, let's do a little bit of push onto objective 3. What I have here are some basic miners, but I have summoned 2 more of the blasting charges. They should be experts at getting rid of the nasty Skulkers here. Objective 2 is ours, likewise is objective 3, which is quite a nice boon for us. And look at those blasting charges go, being launched over the heads of our own men, doing significant damage to the miners, but I don't care, we're killing nasty Skulkers, and that means more dead gobbos. The middle fight is getting underway now. We have a load of blasting charges coming in, focused down the Black Orcs, which isn't going to do the most value because they have 110 armor, which is quite huge, but I don't have that much AP on the battlefield right now. I've got a load of Longbeards in reserve with great weapons, but I need something to kill these Black Orcs, and I need something to kill them now, and Hans may well be that lad. Looks like more Black Orcs are forcing their way forward. The miners are taking significant damage right now from the mass of skirmish cavalry. Morgrubs, Mangy Marauders are just insanely good. Some of the best skirmish cav in the entire game. Fantastic for taking down Dwarfs as well. Looks like our miners do some significant damage to the Black Orcs here. We also have some long-range shots being popped by the gyrocopter, and Thorgrim moves in on the action. But he is going to be wrestling with Grimgor, which isn't necessarily the nicest fight in the world. The gyrocopter is going to be swooping by here. Big shots coming in, blasting charges, bombing runs. Thorgrim, it is glory for the great dwarven holds. And Thorgrim's walking through the fire and the flames right now. The Black Orcs fleeing before his might, and he's actually going after Grimgor here, hoping at the support of his troops, and likewise the support of the gyrocopters enough to drag down Grimgor, who takes an insane amount of blast and charge to the face. That was definitely accidental there, but hey, it's damage at the end of the day. It looks like Noglan Ironbreakers are holding back a tide of Durkit Squickhoppers, doing a decent job just beating them back with their mighty shields. Unfortunately, the Rusty Arrows are also on the battlefield now, so another regiment renowned in the action, and they are starting to rain shots down onto the Ironbreakers, doing some really lovely work there. Miners are being picked apart deftly here by the skirmish cavalry. Objective 3 is still ours though, and we're going to be securing that with some more dwarf warriors. And I felt confident enough to actually bring the goblobber into the action, and he can do some nice long-range support here. We also summon yet another gyrocopter to try and give us some mobility in this midway point of the battlefield. We are successfully holding back the enemy for now. Thorgrim, though, has got a little bit over-eager. He's surrounded by the Crimson Killers, as well as Grimgor. He needs to fall back, so it looks like the Ironbreakers will be moving forward to work as a glorious rear guard, and hopefully allowing our boy to get out of action. This is a lovely potential for a bombing run, though, but it looks like we're simply focus firing down at the moment with the gyrocopter brimstone guns, which likewise is something I don't hate at all. Hans has been an absolute chad here in the middle. He's been doing, honestly, a fantastic job swinging that mighty axe around. Looks like he's going to be enough to actually break off the Blackhawks and help support the Norglin and Ironbreakers. Hans, you absolute beast, man. I love him. He's a really fun pick to bring as the Dowie, but there is a lot of magical attacks in general in the game now, so it can be a little bit scary likewise. Gyrocopters continue to focus down Grimgor where possible. Looks like we may go for a bit of a cheeky bomb run here. There was something a little wrong with one of my gyrocopters. Like, I kept telling them to shoot Grimgor, and they would, like, not want to do it for whatever reason. But hey, looks like a bombing run is now going to be coming in on the Crimson Killers and the Black Orcs. Decent armor on them, so it's not going to do insane damage, but it will certainly help out the Ironbreakers. I'm sure they're rather happy with the reprieve there. The rusty arrows have been focused down now by the goblobber with a significant ticket advantage at the moment. I am contemplating making a push for objective 1, seeing as my opponent has now left it open. Objective 3 we are clinging on to. Dwarf warriors fighting nasty skulkers. Likewise, we have miners in here. There's a lot of skirmish cav knocking about right now, and that's pretty scary stuff. I believe I do have some dwarfs on the way. It looks like we have dwarf warriors as well as some beat up miners on approach. Though it looks like skirmish cav may be used to stop me getting onto those objectives, and that is a big problem for dwarfs, is the fact that they don't have that much damage output in melee. So when you're trying to get on top of these objectives, your opponent simply has to push off them, pin you in place, and cap the points. We are holding on, at least for now. So Black Hawks with the War are grinding down the Ironbreakers here in the center. They've taken significant damage to do so. Grimgor is being focused down by the gyrocopters, but at this point I should probably ignore Grimgor. I had this kind of a want to slay him, but I should probably be focused down the infantry instead. It looks like Morgoth's Mangy Marauders, out of ammunition, decide to charge in with the Oath of Vengeance going down on them. They are negative 24 melee defense, which takes them to a whopping 0. And the Ironbreakers having an absolute whale of a time to slaughter them into itty-bitty pieces. There are some gobbos on arrival. We've got some rangers doing some 360 no-scopes into them. Gyrocopter going to continue to fire as well. And it looks like the goblobber is still firing in somehow. Longbeards are on the approach. Now, at this point, I was considering making them go for Objective 1, and I think that is their initial path in here. Objective 3, we've got some miners back in action, as well as the Dwarf Warriors, and we're starting to claim Objective 3 once more with Dwarf Warriors pushing on. There's just so many goblins, though. Like, every single orifice has a goblin popping out of it and going, hello! And then you try and, like, whack in, it hops back in. It is a nightmare. There's squig hoppers everywhere, night goblins, orc boys, nasty skulkers being summoned, and there's simply too much for me to handle right now. I summoned some slayers just because they're fast to attempt to get onto objectives quickly. Longbeards are going to go for the long walk towards Objective 1. Thorgrim desperately holding on to the middle, but with Hans in tow, he's doing a decent job. The rusty arrows have been phenomenal, though, just like popping shots from long range. Even with the goblobber attempting to drag them low, they simply don't want to go anywhere. Only 5 kills on them, but I feel like they've been a pain in my butt. Yeah, 1,100 value. Absolutely insane work there from the little boys in green. Nasty Skulkers are going to be moving over to Objective 3. Oh, camera goes all the way up there. And you can see just more skirmish cav, more squigs, more gobbos, all being flooded onto Objective 3. And at this point in the battle, I'm like 2,000 value ahead, damage value, but the dwarfs just struggle so hard to clear objectives and to get on to objectives. I was like fuming right now. I was like, please, for the love of God, give me this objective. Although it looks like my opponent's only just actually claimed it there, but there's just more gobbos flooding over. Looks like the goblobber is still launching shots into the enemy, trying to take down the rusty arrows. We're struggling just to hold on to one objective right now. We do have miners with blasting charges being summoned, as well as the longbeards, making the long trek to Objective 1, and I am significantly ahead ticket-wise here, and it looks like the middle isn't completely lost yet. Grimgor is about to go down. He's about to meet the wrath of Thorgrim, as the smoke does rise from some fallen dwarfs in that gyrocopter. Looks like Grimgor does get a good hit into Thorgrim here, who doesn't really want to fight, actually. He's changed his mind. He's like, you know what? There is another gobbo at the end of the day. I don't think you're worthy of fighting me. So he just ignores him and decides to walk away. Rather opposite of what you'd think Thorgrim would do in real life. Gyrocopters attempting their best. Looks like the Black Hawks were eventually able to break through alongside the Crimson Killers. And Objective 2 is looking really rough right now. We do have the Longbeards, though, about to reach Objective 1. Objective 3 is lost, though we are doing some decent damage over here with the mixture of Dwarf Warriors and Miners. There's simply too many Goblins there, and it's looking like a pretty bleak fight for that objective. Goblobber goes down. I saw this coming. I saw the Night Goblins popping forward, but I was like, I tried getting them off the battlefield quickly, but I was like, no, I'm just going to use 1 or 2 shots left. I don't care about damage value at this point. I just need to kill the Rusty Arrows so I can fight for this middle objective. Slayers are on the approach. It looks like Thorgrim does in fact bite the dust. Grimgor was able to slay low the Dowie Lord there, beating him back for his hubris of ignoring the Goblin. Or the Orc, I should say, but similar to Dwarfs, they're all just Goblins. Miners do pop forward as well as Slayers, get some big blasting charges going in forward, and Hans, the boy, like Hans is the Chad really, out of the dwarf kind of lords at the moment and heroes. He's really my favourite pick right now, and he's going toe-to-toe with Grimgor. Even with the War popped, I don't think Hans is really going to care. He's a mighty Dowie of legend, and Grimgor is simply another Orc who will die at the hands of his axe. Objective 1 is starting to be claimed by me. Blasting charges are able to rip the nasty skulkers just out of existence. Like, they are now more fire than they are goblin. With Slayers on the approach as well, there's a good chance we might be able to claim Objective 1. That's very close to my opponent's home base, and he's just going to be summoning Goblin Wolf Riders and Skirmish Cav to try and harass and slow down this cap as quickly as possible. We also be fighting off the objective at all times. Objective 2 is slowly becoming mine once more. Hans is just an absolute raid boss in the middle. Big Axe comes down on Grimgor's face, and 500 HP for him. Hans, though, is also getting a little bit low here, getting a little bit danger low. Does have your next popped on him, but again, Hans has heard many a Greenskin say you're going to be the next to fill to my axe, and Hans always comes out on top. Objective 3 is just flooded right now. Look at this. We're like nasty skulkers, boys, squigs, forest goblins. They real nice, I guess, collaboration of different forces coming together to cap Objective 3 there. Objective 2, we start to take a little bit. We do have Slayers moving in as well, and double Miners looking to push this objective. Alas, Hans is once again hubris, which seems to be a lesson of the dwarves today. He does fall down, face down in the lava. Grimgor flees from his corpse though, so hey, at least the dwarf can laugh in death. Objective 2 is going to start to be ours. We do have Miners pushing forward as well. Objective 1 is also about to be ours, but it does seem like it's a little bit too little too late, as we need the triple cap at this point. And even though we're about to get to the, or at least one definite cap, this one's probably going to be capped, but I don't know if we're going to really have time there. With the 2 Miners, or in fact 3 Miners flooding into this objective, seems unlikely the Greenskins are going to be able to hold control, but it doesn't matter. Simply Objective 3 shall be held by the Green Boys. So nice blasting charges coming though, just to try to finish off the Crimson Killers. Once again, much like their general, they flee in terror before the might of the Dowie. And though we kind of won the battle in the end, like we had a much larger and superior army on 2 of the objectives, this was a little bit hairy on this right-hand side. The Greenskins were able to pull out the glorious victory. Well played to logic. It was a good fun game. I love my color scheme as well, because it's the spine of Sotek, so it makes me as lizardman as possible whilst playing the Dowie. But yeah, dwarfs, like, we didn't play like a particularly like amazing game or anything like that, but I think for like 95% of the game, I was like considerably ahead damage value wise and doing way more damage to the Greenskins, getting good engagements. But dwarfs on domination, it does not matter. They simply cannot get onto those objectives quick enough. And once we lost them, we had a really good start, but once we lost those objectives, it was a game over. I think going for more of a range-centric build is definitely the way to go. I wanted to try out the gyrocopters instead of, like, Thunderers. Bring something a little bit more snazzy, the Royal Dwarf Air Force. They did okay. Nothing too crazy on the gyros. How did the ROR do? 920. That's not too shabby. Ironbreakers held for a long time. 1.4 on the Ironbreakers is nice. Of course, Thorgrim's not super competitive, but I think he did okay. He held the line for a while, and at least buffed the nearby lads. Slayers didn't do too much. Goblin was okay. But how did Hans do? 844 value. I like Hans. He's a cool G. As for the Greenskin forces, Grimgor 2.5k value, 1.4 on the Crimson Killers. The other Black Hawks got absolutely slaughtered though. Like, they got nowhere near paying for themselves. And the Greenies, 1.5k on the Morgrim's Major Marauders is insane. All of the infantry though performed really badly. 1,000 on the Durkit Squigs. Yeah, I forgot to put on unit caps. As you can see, we have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 regiments of renown, which of course is low-key insane. But, you know, they did a good job. They certainly, all the regiment rounds did okay. Actually, no. Skirmish Cav did good. How did the Rusty Arrows do in the end? 1.4k value. That's really nice stuff there. But yeah, good old school grudge match. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Bug ton of links in the description. But until next time, peace, peace. And as always, stay awesome.